It's Radio Free 501c, the podcast of Rogue Tulips Consulting. I'm your host, Cecilia Sapp, and we're so excited to be back for Season 6 and continue bringing you outstanding ideas and thought leaders and different ways of thinking. So don't forget to subscribe because you're not going to want to miss any of it. This week, I welcome back Dr. Lesedi Lesetedi of Botswana Open University. She is a leader on many levels, and today we're talking about global transformation and how women can change the world. It's August 5th, 2024. Welcome to episode 249. Hey everybody, it's Monday, August 5th, and that means it's time for another episode of Radio Free 501c, brought to you by Rogue Tulips Consulting. As always, I'm your host, Cecilia Sapp. I'm the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. To me, this is a very special episode because we have a returning guest, who hasn't been on for quite a while, and she's one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm talking about Dr. Lesedi Lesetedi of Botswana Open University, and she is in their C-suite. I'm going to have Lesedi tell you a little bit more about what she does at the university, and our conversation today is going to be about the role of women in transforming the world. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to our audience, wherever you may be on this big, wonderful planet of ours. So welcome. And if you haven't subscribed or followed us yet on your favorite podcast service, please take a moment and do that. So Lesedi, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. I was really thrilled that you could fit me into your schedule because I know you have a very full schedule. So would you like to say hello to the audience and tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, Cecilia, thank you so much. Let me first greet you and then join you in greeting our global audience. I'm always excited to converse with you. You are quite intriguing. So I'm looking forward to this chat with you for these few minutes. Yes.
Thank you. And you do have quite a lot of responsibility and a very large role in leading Botswana Open University. So would you like to talk a little bit about your professional life?
Yes, here my responsibility is quite diverse because I'm part of the executive management team and I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Corporate Services. And I look at various functions like financial services, like IT, corporate relations and marketing, human resources, procurement, business development, infrastructure and office services and the rest. And also, I play a pivotal role in the governance of the university because I sit in council by invite, and then I'm a member of a number of committees of the council. And I also have those committees that I chair as the Deputy Vice Chancellor, those which are relevant to my portfolio here, quite a number like the pension fund. I'm there also as a chief negotiator for the unions of the university and a number of portfolios or committees that are quite significant and are playing to the university to achieve its mandate. Thank you, Cecilia.
You are welcome, and thank you for all the work you do. Your job is even bigger than I remember. That is a lot. And one of the things I admire about you, Lesedi, is that you are a leader. You don't just go to work. You lead others, you set an example, you've been a volunteer on other boards of directors outside of what you do at the university. You set an example for a lot of women. So I really want to hear how you look at this topic, if you can unpack it for us a little bit, of the role of women in transforming the world, because you're obviously a woman who's out there working toward that.
Mm. Very, very intriguing. Perhaps we should start by putting a disclaimer because I've heard voices whereby they think we overemphasize on this topic and we tend to forget about our counterparts, the male counterparts. They say we speak about women and girl children and we forget about the boy child, and they think it's unfortunate. But I've now heard voices speaking to these areas as well. And I think personally, it's important to speak about the roles from both angles, whether it's from their side, men should also speak up, or other people looking at it from that angle. In a similar manner, women should be led to speak about their role and how they can impact into the world. And they're quite doing a lot of things. We'll be talking to those things, Cecilia. And in this contemporary 21st century, things are different from that traditional women. I know even traditional women were doing a lot. Maybe allow me to start from there and nature. You will agree with me that as a woman, from the beginning, you carry that baby in your stomach for 9 months. And that is a responsibility by itself, whether it's a boy child, a girl child, but you are there, a woman connecting with this baby within you for 9 months. And then after that, you give birth. When you have given birth, it's you also nurturing this baby, growing this baby. You are the primary person, nursing the baby, breastfeeding, connecting with the baby, bonding the baby, teaching the baby, starting with the nonverbal communication to the actual communication, the first step as they try to walk, everything. It is a woman in that space, but we'll be speaking to those. Let me start from the beginning by quoting Michelle Bachelet from the UN Women, where she said, when women are empowered and can claim their rights and have access to land, to leadership, to opportunities of choice, she says economies will grow and there will be food security, or it will be enhanced, and prospects would be improved for current and future generations. I really like that because she's spot on, really. I mean, if women can be given the opportunity, the space, if they're led to do, great things would be coming with, particularly with their attention to detail and with their determination. So there's so much. We'll be speaking later on the traits of a woman that really brings the woman to help transform the world.
That is such a great starting point. I agree with you. I think women have come a long way, but we are still, in my opinion, trapped in a lot of our traditional roles. And some of that is nature, because women are the ones who do carry the baby and then tend to be the caregiver. And that doesn't
Mm,
mean that men can't be nurturing. We know
mm,
men can nurture as well, but it's a different role. And I think men also get trapped. You talked about, people mentioned to you, you're always talking about the women and the girl children and not the men and the boy children. But I think men and boys get trapped in roles as well. They get
mm,
trapped in a traditional way of behavior and ways of doing things too, because we really need to change the way we all think. As you
mhm,
mentioned, the 21st century, and we've evolved as humanity, not just technology, not just our physical environment, but realizing that a lot of the things we had put in place were totally artificial. And
mm,
exactly, like women need to stay home, women don't need to go to college, women can only do certain jobs, and we know that's not accurate. That's
no.
It's been proven. So
Mhm.
I think, and you had mentioned a lot of different things you wanted to talk about today. So, what are some of the obstacles? Let's start there, because you also had mentioned you want to talk about the traits that women need in order to transform the world. But let's start with the obstacles, because I think if we know what the obstacles are, then we'll have a better understanding of what traits are needed to get beyond those obstacles.
Yes. Some of the obstacles comes from the traditions and culture in certain nations whereby women were forbidden to do certain things, or where women were looked as to be under men, and that they were being denied a lot of things, and others was embedded and crafted within the laws. The laws would not allow maybe a woman to get a loan from the bank unless there's consent from the husband.
Yes.
And when you are married in community of property with a husband, you will always be looking for consent, while them the same is not happening. And then even when you were grown in the household with your siblings in the form of your brothers, you would find they are given liberty to do certain things while
Mhm.
for women, the opposite is the case. And also, the society itself will shun women if they were to do things that men can freely do. So there were omens that were said if it's a woman, including certain religious beliefs, whereby they wouldn't do this because a woman was part of. In some nations, women would not even be allowed to drive cars and,
Yeah.
and a lot more. And then in the space of education, some nations would not even allow girl children to go to schools. And they will be inhibited to make logical decisions because really they're not schooled. And it happened, as I said, is the woman who nurture and take care of the family and the children, and that denies them to even have maybe professional occupations. The occupation would be that of a housewife. All these things somehow inhibited previously women to shine out there. But dynamics are different now because we have seen women leading countries as presidents. We have seen women engineers. We have seen women joining the defense force. We have seen women as scientists. We have seen women doing things that before were really protected to be the men's space. So, yes, these obstacles are there. Perhaps they're going to be overtaken by events because the world is changing so much, and then it's looking at things very differently from the old days. But still, things should be done in a meaningful, deliberate way with intentions, like putting strategies and putting new laws that now would look at women in an equal manner. If not equal, at least providing equity, whereby women are not too much disadvantaged. Of course, I want to say to my fellow women, one thing I notice is that women have to double their efforts to attain those things that the male counterparts are having. So let it be. And I want to rush again, Cecilia, to say, as women also, let us not think by speaking up and speaking to these things, it means we should be giving things in a silver platter. Women must earn. Women must also put themselves out there to demonstrate their capability, that they can do it, not just because they're women, things should just be smooth for them, as I said.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. And well said, Lesedi. I agree with that. Women should not expect to have things handed to them. I agree with that. But I don't think women should also feel that they need to work twice as hard for less money. Women are still not paid equally to men, and there's a lot of influences in that. And that's not what this conversation is about necessarily, but there's a lot of things that influence our career arc and how long we're in the workforce and things like that. But the thing is, if you're qualified in doing the same job as a
Yeah.
man, should be making in the same ballpark, even if not exactly the same salary, because experience does matter with money and what we get paid in certain instances. But I think women also need to know their own history. Now, it's
Mhm.
been difficult through history, but throughout history, women have had these roles. I know a lot of examples from Western Europe. There have been queens that ruled in their own right. They did not have a man with them on the
Mhm.
throne telling them what to do. You had women who were co-leading. I think Queen Victoria and Prince Albert were a great example of that. A man and woman working together to run a country. You had a lot
Mhm.
of women doing that. It was few and far between. But those examples are out there. They're in the United States. And again, I'll speak to the history I know and not try to talk about other countries' histories. But in our country, women didn't have the right to vote until the 19th century. We didn't necessarily have those rights to own property or live on our own. Women still had to deal with that mindset of being more property and needing to be cared for as opposed to being a person in their own right. So we still had to struggle with that. And yet you still did see women in the United States in the 19th century become doctors, become lawyers. Was it
Mhm.
easy? No, absolutely not. And it was very difficult for women to live on their own as well, because again, a lot of people felt a woman needed a man in order to exist. And it's like, it's great to have a man in your life. I have one. I'm very glad I have, but that doesn't mean I'm not an independent person in my own right. We work together as partners, and I think it's not an us against them thing. And I think one of the things holding this area back is the way the world is right now. There's a lot of us against them. You're either with me or against me. Everything's very extreme, and we're not thinking things through. We're not saying what's the best solution, not use my solution. And I think women, the point I'm kind of leading up to is you said something earlier about speaking up. And I think a lot of women have a fear factor of speaking up. I see a lot of women, and this is from my own experience, and women out there, save the angry postcards, you're going to say that's not true. But it actually is. I see women in environments where there are men. It's like in a conference, for example, in a conference session, I see women will stop talking and kind of withdraw from participating because a man has started speaking. I have women defer to a man on a topic that the man knows nothing about. And we still do that. Why do we do that? I don't know. Maybe you have some insight on that. I just don't
Oh,
know.
yes, yeah, I don't know. Perhaps some of us have been privileged and we have an advantage. I'm saying this because I grew as the only woman with my brothers, four of them, in between them. So that in a way, it made me balance the femininity with the masculinity forces that was coming from my brothers. And I started recognizing male counterparts as persons like me, particularly that my brothers were not treating me any different. Rather, I would say they were even treating me good, which in a way provided an environment that built confidence in me and entrusted this thing that men are really they're good souls, one would say, particularly if you showcase that really you are feeling in as well. You are not looking down on yourself. So with that, Cecilia, I want to rush to say women are phenomenal. Women are women of substance. Women really are women of valor. And Lauren Kenny said, as a woman of substance, first of all, you need to embrace your individuality and be happy of who you are. You need to be content. And she indicated also that you must use your voice. And she indicated that find purpose in life, have your dreams, have goals, and demonstrate that you can achieve those. If you do that and you live up to who you are without fear, really, without really being what? Being compromised in any way where you feel guilty that maybe you are a woman. No, if you are not thinking of that and you are thinking of your counterparts as people who are there, who you could have a competitive edge also to win, even when you are with them, you will never go wrong. I personally have been there, as you are saying. I've been there even at a continental or regional level where I was leading great gentlemen, very knowledgeable, very well experienced, but not in any way have ever I felt threatened by who they are. So we need that. And as women of valor, really, you need to be faithful to your gifts, to your talents, to your passions, and you need to be good to people around you. So when you do all those things, that's why we have all these women, starting with those housewives. They have an ample responsibility that they're doing because you wouldn't know they're also educators. The educators are not only teachers and professors, they teach a lot. And theirs even makes people to learn easily because they say practice makes perfect, including whereby it's not in a formal setup. And we have these women doctors, as you mentioned. We have all these people, corporate professionals. We have CEOs. In Botswana here, we have quite a number of women holding a big responsibility. Recently, a commissioner of police was appointed. And you'll agree with me, in that space is male dominated, but the woman was appointed. Our Minister of Finance and Economic Development is a woman. So you can see what a big portfolio it is. Even here at my university, the acting vice chancellor is a woman. Our chancellor, Professor Shilato, is a woman. So women are now in this space. And there in your country, look at your VP, Kamala Harris. Look at people like Melinda Gates, Oprah Winfrey. Let's go to the UK, the Queen Elizabeth, Margaret Thatcher. All those women, we all knew them. In Africa, we have also those politicians who are leading the countries as presidents, like Her Excellency, the President of Tanzania, Samila Hassan, Ellen Johnson, the former President of Liberia. All these things demonstrates even women are able to. I mean, even women can seize these spaces and lead, and very effectively for that matter. So gone are the days where you would say you are inhibited. It's about what you make out of your environment and how you maneuver and how you apply yourself and the intentional efforts that you are putting in. If you do all those things, really nothing can. So yes, these barriers are there, we know. But the thing is, how do we work about such that they don't stop us to attain what we want as women? Thank
That,
you.
yes, well said. Again, very good overview, because there are a lot of recent examples, like you mentioned several, Ellen Johnson, Margaret Thatcher, Kamala Harris. So those barriers have come down in a lot of ways. And it's my opinion that a lot of women put up the barriers in their
Mm,
minds because they think they can't do it. I hear more and more people talking about imposter syndrome, and it can affect anyone, but it seems to be mostly women. And they feel they're in a job they're not supposed to be in. Well, I have trouble, and I understand what imposter syndrome is as a concept, but I have trouble understanding why a woman would have it if she worked really hard and went to school and got the right education or learned on the job how to do the job, why you would have imposter syndrome. And that's me. And again, I think some people think I might not have a clear-eyed view of the world, but I would make the opposite argument is, maybe people are walking around with blinders on because they're not seeing the whole picture. If you worked towards something and earned it, then there's no reason to feel like an imposter. And I also am a big believer, I'm from the Midwest in the United States. I'm a big believer in working hard and taking personal responsibility for things. So,
mm,
my own experience, I did well in school because I worked hard. Nobody gave it to me. Nobody said to me, you can't do well in school because you're a girl.
mm.
But you had mentioned earlier girls having different rules, and girls do have different rules. I grew up with a very traditional mother. And so my brothers all had a later curfew than the girls. So the boys could stay out late and the girls could not, even though the oldest child in my family is a girl. She could not stay out as late as her younger brother because she's a girl. And one year for Christmas, I asked for an erector set. And my dad said, well, okay. And my mom said, no, that's a boy's toy. You can't have that. But then she told me my whole life I'm going to go to college. So which is it? Can I go to college but I can't have an erector set? I don't know what she thought I would study in college. I ended up studying political science, but it's very funny because our mothers are trying, but then they have the things that they've learned, right? And they're trying to pass that on. And I think a lot of women do lack that self-confidence and they do lack that strength. It takes a lot of courage to open your mouth, but you don't get what you want if you don't ask for it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you'll be told no, but at least you tried. And I think a lot of times women don't want to say anything. They don't speak up and call people on their bad behavior either. Like there's a consistent issue, and I'm sure this happens all over the world, where a woman will say something in a meeting and then it gets ignored and a man says the same thing 5 minutes later and everybody's like, oh, what a great idea because the man said it. But do the women speak up and say, wait a minute, I just said that 5 minutes
Mhm,
ago,
mhm,
and I'm a woman who will do that in any situation. Look, last year my husband was having a surgery and we went for the pre-op meeting with the doctor. And I said to the doctor, I'm going to be his main caregiver after the surgery. What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to look out for? What do I need to
mhm.
know? And he looks at me and he says, now, all you have to do is get groceries and make dinner. And I looked at him and I said, Doctor, you don't really know me. You don't know what my history is. I'm actually a person with a lot of experience in healthcare policy, and I've worked at healthcare associations. Many of my
Mhm.
clients have been healthcare organizations. That's not what I'm asking you. I am asking you what sort of side effects I need to be looking for. What kind of hip are you putting in my husband? What is it made of? That's what I want to know. I know about getting him food. And the look on his face said it all. You know, oh, it's almost like when a doctor gets taken down by an attendant intern. It's like, but
I
dude,
know.
it's like you probably have had the same experience.
Yes, I have heard it, particularly like maybe you are invited for an interview.
Mhm.
Already the expectation of the male panelists, maybe the panel is dominated mostly by men. And I think in their mind, they expect you to come and demonstrate your femininity rather than coming there as a candidate with a competitive edge. So the
Mhm.
minute you enter the room, first of all, the nonverbal, you'd see they were not interested, and you will see them pleasantly surprised the minute they see you putting your foot on the ground, even through your voice and demonstrating the caliber of person. If they were looking at their phones or they were looking elsewhere, you see them beginning to have eye contact. You see them beginning to be surprised and to listen. So really, I can relate with what you are saying because already they're judging you as a woman. But I think the world is dictating differently. Look at the beauty contest nowadays. Is beauty with purpose? Is beauty with brains? Gone are the days where women were just modeling their bodies, and that was the thing of the day. Nowadays, it's more than that. You need to be knowledgeable of issues, whether current, political, and other things. So if you are not, the criteria is going to take you out
Right.
because really it's not about just your demonstrating your body and your beauty in that line. So really, men are surprised when they see such women, but they're starting also to accept because they have recognized women are equally capable. That's why, as we are saying, we see now lots of women in the corporate world leading as CEOs, as board members. We see women flying big aircrafts, and we would see the travelers are relaxed. They're not scared. It's a woman, and maybe the aeroplane is going to crash. So things are changing, and it's only us women who should do it. I liked it, Cecilia, when you were speaking about sometimes women also surprising by not supporting each other. You would find, like you rightly gave an example where a woman was speaking and nobody was listening. Now, when it's a male voice coming in, everyone is supporting the male. In a similar manner, in the political space, you would find women are speaking about empowerment, saying all these things. But when it's time for them to support other women, they don't. Maybe an equally or even more than capable woman is standing with a male counterpart, campaigning to be selected for a particular party. You will find women are now supporting the men as opposed to supporting a woman like them. And then we turn around and complain and saying this and that. We should start, charity begins at home. We should start with ourselves as women, supporting each other, recognizing other women's efforts, complementing those efforts, even enhancing and having a pulling effect. I mean, if you push me to higher heights, I should pull you as well. So doing that would provide such a structure that very soon, because of collective efforts, women would be recognized, our voice would be recognized. It's not only one woman somewhere saying it, it's all women who are thinking in a similar manner. So we still have room for improvement as women. I mean, to do more and not to expect things to come to us. We really need to stand up for these things. We need to speak up, and we should ignore those other voices which are deterring in a way to say you speak too much about women. We need to speak such that there's proper recognition. I really that is my perspective. That is my opinion, and I think doing that would help the world to move, would transform the world, would really add value. It would be impactful because we'll complement efforts from men. And it will be now all of us, both men and women, not just the other side, maybe only men or only women. It will be both of us transforming the world to what we want it to be. Yes.
Yes, because if everybody tried to do their best and be their best self and do what they're good at, because you need a lot of different people to make the world work. So
Mm.
everybody can't be a fireman because we need doctors. Everybody can't be a doctor because we need plumbers. Everybody can't be a plumber because we need engineers. So there's a role for everybody, and everybody can be good at different things. And there's an old saying, some men belong in the kitchen and some women belong on the battlefield because
Mhm.
that's what they're good at. And I think that if we as women could start shaking some of that off. It's hard to, though, because you're absolutely right, Lesedi. We reinforce these bad behaviors with each other
Mm.
about not helping each other, not supporting each other, not pulling each other up or lifting each other up. And I think if
Mhm.
we did start doing that, the world would be a better place, because I think it's very hard in a world okay, let me start that over. In a world where we want women to have the kind of life they want to create, but so many women are still in bad situations, because for every Lesedi Lesetedi, there's 50 women out there that are strippers or prostitutes or drug traffickers, some other thing. They get forced into bad situations for whatever reason. And I think when we look at some of the global issues affecting women right now, human trafficking, countries where women are oppressed, like in Afghanistan, the Taliban prevents them from leaving the house now. They can't go to school. They can't leave the country. Uh,
Mm.
they cannot do so many things. And we tend to overlook that, like, well, it's not our problem. But it is our problem, because for women to transform the world, I think our first step is to transform ourselves. We have to
Yes.
transform women. Women shouldn't have to sell their bodies. Women shouldn't have to enter a beauty contest to win a scholarship. Women should be in a contest to show how smart they are to get the scholarship,
Mhm.
walk around in
Mhm.
a bathing suit. And there are no comparable contests for men. If there was a male beauty contest where the men had to walk around in a swimsuit, okay, that's parody. We're all doing it, but it's not. Women continue to be objectified, and women continue to participate in things that objectify them. And for some women, they don't see another way out. They feel that's their only option. And I think as women, if we set that example, there are other options. You
Mm.
need to ask for help, and then other women who can provide help need to offer it when
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
needed. So this is everything from actually working with an organization that helps women change their lives, to live differently, however they want that to look like, or being a woman who mentors other women. I had a job years ago. I was running a professional society for nursing home administrators, and one of the staff people came to me and she said, "I want your job someday." And I said, "Okay, let's make that happen, because I'm not going to be here forever." And obviously I wasn't here forever, but she also left a different job. But my point being, I didn't say no and hold her
Mhm.
down. I said, "How can
Mhm.
help you get there. And she also, and this was rather startling to me. She said to me on another occasion, "You're not like other women bosses I've worked with." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Because you actually help us. You
Mm.
don't hold us back." And I said, "Well, because when I'm at work, I am a professional. I'm not a woman. And so I want to help people succeed and have a good team." And some women are now saying, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Lesedi. Some women now in the United States are saying, we need to lead like women. We need to do women thing instead. But I think then again, when we look at what we identify as leadership traits, there are certain things, being a leader is an uncomfortable role. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of women are not comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's an obstacle I think we would have to overcome. What do you think?
Indeed. And while you were speaking, the reason I was laughing, where you were saying women need not do ABC to attain ABC. Let me start first with that one. I agree completely with you that, of course, intentional empowerment should be done to women, not to make them plead and beg and belittle themselves in order to attain. So really deliberate economic independence, social identity, attaining self-confidence, freedom for mobility, creativity and innovation, achievement, motive, all these things should be inculcated into the mindset of a woman and even the male cows, the man, to know that, yes, indeed, these are needed and should be instrumental for women to attain. We should not force women to undress and showcase their body. If, as you said, that to get sponsorship, to get an educational program, really let them do that when they wish. Let it be a choice, because this is a choice, but not a situation that propels you to do that. So, I mean, those who work around you, Cecilia, are blessed and keep on doing that, the great you are doing. Because as the person was saying, not many women would do that, particularly to other women. But we need to mentor. We need to be role models. Sometimes we need to teach the younger generation, not just by getting in a classroom setup or not just by having to watch a clip like ours that we are doing now, but rather by looking at you and your life, whereby the young ones would be saying that is the way to go. And that way will influence the world.
Right? It's like we say we can't, we don't help each other, we can't help each other. And I think that fear factor is really a big obstacle that women have.
Indeed. And the main thing, the beginning for that of that we can, as opposed to thinking we can't, is the mindset. This thing, it starts with the mind. It's in the mind. Because what you tell your mind, those successful women, they told themselves, I will and I'm going to be able to and I can. So if we could start in a way conditioning the mind, starting of the young ones, even at a tender age, to demonstrate to them that even as women, you are capable of doing these other things. That way you'll find these constraints that right now we're speaking to would be reduced in a way. And also, as we said, whereby, because we have the numbers, if we have to support a politician because they're going to be our voice at parliament, let us support them such that they can put through our issues, they can influence the laws. And when the laws are influenced, you find then it's easier for women to penetrate any space without being inhibited. And we'll no more be speaking of constraints because there will be no more those obstacles. And the more these things happen, the more society would accept them, the more even our male counterparts and everyone would get to know that is a norm, it's normal. Because if we stay away and ridicule those women who are trying to penetrate these spaces, then people might think it's forbidden, it's a wrong thing. But the more you practice something, then it becomes something that people would accept in a society. So there is nowhere where you can say it's a no-go area. And I think we should persevere and continue to educate and educate, speak and speak and speak. And somewhere, one way or the other, conscious or not conscious, people will get to learn these things should be addressed.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm an advocate and of the school of thinking that speaking up really is not wrong. So we should not, in a way, think the people who are speaking up are bothering anybody. Let them speak up, really. Then constraints would be reduced, if not completely removed, Cecilia.
Yes. Oh, well said. I agree. In summary, women still have a lot of fear. We still have a lot of efforts we need to make to let go of that, build our self-confidence, to see ourselves as strong individuals. And I think frankly we need to stop blaming the patriarchy. Because a lot of women talk about the patriarchy. We need to overthrow the patriarchy and let's get rid of the patriarchy, death to the patriarchy. But what role are we playing in the patriarchy by continuing to go along with that mindset? And I think I think, yes, maybe the patriarchy needs to be done away with in a certain way, but this attitude of it's not our fault, it's someone else's fault, that never gets anyone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women will get angry at that statement, but it's the truth. You know, if you let the patriarchy hold you down, then yes, it will hold you down. And I think in our modern world, we're so comfortable. So many of us, we're so comfortable. We have comfortable homes and we have enough to eat and we have a lot of entertainment. We have nice clothes, and these things have been worked for by people before us. So I had mentioned, you know, the women didn't have the right to vote in the United States before, and we have that now. We take it for granted, but a lot of women don't know the history of how we got the vote, the suffering those women went through. And they weren't suffragettes for suffering, because suffrage means voting, but they suffered. They went to prison. They went on hunger strikes. They risked losing their families and their friends for speaking out on behalf of women and having that right to vote. And this is why I think it's so important for women to know our own history, because women worked and suffered and physically put themselves at risk just to get the vote.
Mm. Mm.
And
So sad, Cecilia. And I want to say maybe ways to facilitate. This really should be very comprehensive and it should involve everyone. It should start even at our homes. I mean, even us as mothers, when our children are growing, the boys and girls, we should empower them in a similar manner. We should not restrain or refrain our girl children to attain or to do certain things. That way we are empowering them. And then in organizations as well, in organizations, we should have deliberate policies. Like, for example, a paternity leave, whereby it can allow even the males to go and look after the babies. Let it not just be the responsibility of a woman, because they are also the fathers of those children. So such things balances things off. Then when you go to society as well, let us not think that area is for men only. This food can only be eaten by men. No man should eat ABC. If we attend to those little things, you might think it's little things. Somehow they balance these things. And when we go to the legislators at national level as well, there should be strategies as well as policies and laws that really are fair to all gender, to everyone. They should not be skewed towards just one gender. If those laws were there, let them be reviewed such that we are now inclusive. Continentally, regionally, internationally, similar should happen, whereby We promote things for all people. We don't divide. We don't divide by gender, by race, by whatsoever. Doing all those things, the world would be so good. Women would add so much value. Because as I said, women are so powerful because they have other traits that maybe the men might not all be having. They have attention to detail, they have empathy, and they can multitask. They have a lot of things, and women are strong in a subtle manner. A strength doesn't just come with the physique, because they can tolerate things that in other nations you find the counterparts, the males, can't tolerate. The reason that things like passion killing, where a man can kill a woman because they're offended, the woman wants to leave them, while the woman can tolerate to be left and sometimes remain with children, whereby she will be both a mother and a father without killing anybody. So really, these things should be unpacked. These things should be unlearned and learned again, such that they're put in a way that they're beneficial to everyone. Let it be a win-win. Of course, Cecilia, we should not leave behind a boy child. Not in any way am I advocating that we should all now be skewed to the other side alone. Let's carry everyone along, but intentional things, because the girl child, the woman remain behind because of those obstacles and disadvantages. So let's address them. Look at the nature itself, the biology. With menstruation and other things, those things for the women who might not have resources, like have sanitary pads, might make them not go to school during that period time. So those things should be provided, and the society should be taught that that is natural, is biological. It's not something that someone has caused them for it to happen to them. So if those things are addressed, the world would be so good, Cecilia. And women would also be happy to say, yes, we are also living in this world. Yes, we can also impact. And indeed, they will transform the world. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. I agree wholeheartedly. We can lift everyone up, and and I think it would be a relief for everyone to let go of some of these old defined roles that we continue reinforcing. So this has just been such a wonderful conversation. I'm sorry to wrap it up, but all good things must come to an end, as the saying goes. And you've already shared so many wonderful insights, Lesedi. But I always like to ask my guest, what is the one thought you would like the audience to take away today? And if they wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to contact you?
Yes. Well, the one thing perhaps I should bring it as just a word, that it is in the mind. It is in the mind. What you achieve is in your mind, is your choices, is your intentions, and then it's your efforts as well. So I want to say this to fellow women. Don't sit back and think as a woman, because you are constrained, you can't achieve. Come with innovative ways of how to maneuver and how to mitigate and bypass those obstacles, so that at the end of the day you are seen. When you are there, all good things would come. So I want to wish all women the best of luck and say to them, women, we can do it. You are women of substance. As I said, you are women of valor, and you are phenomenal. And really, you could be confident to move the world. And indeed, as women, we are going to move the world. Where you can get me, I'm on LinkedIn. If you check there, Lesedi Lesetedi, you'll find me in that space. If you want to contact me by email, lmlesetedi@yahoo.com, lmlesetedi@yahoo.com. I will be able to get the mail. So let me take this opportunity, Cecilia, to thank you again. Quite interesting topic. And thank you for giving me this time to air my views. I'm always happy And I feel very informed from your end with the kind of points that you bring in. So I really appreciate. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I am looking forward to having you back so we can keep talking. No, thank you very much. You're always a wonderful guest. And I love bringing your perspective to a wider part of the world. So we have to go rogue for now. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Lesedi Lesetedi of Botswana Open University, who has set a standard of leadership for everyone with a focus on women, and that's always appreciated and should be recognized. If you would like to learn more about Rogue Tulips Consulting and how we can help your organization bloom outside the box, check out our website, roguetulips.com. Our fall session for our education program launches the first week in September. So if you're getting ready for the CAE exam or you need to take your ethics credit course, check out our website and check out the education page. So that's all for this episode. Again, a gentle reminder, if you have not subscribed or followed us yet, please take a moment and do that. And on behalf of Lesedi and myself, we'll see you next time.